Is Sri Lankan food just knockoff of the Indian food? That's what some people say. But is that really true? Do you agree that the best way to know a culture is to taste its food? But what happens when you can taste Indian, Arabic, Malay, Dutch, Portuguese, and English all at the same time? That's what Sri Lankan food is like. Welcome to the street food tour of the gem of Indian Ocean. This is where I'm going to taste everything from the delicacies of a 5-star resort to the street food from local vendors. Let's find out if we can taste the influences of all the peoples that came to this island. The world's most beautiful island has been visited, colonized, traded with, and inhabited by different nationalities over the centuries. So its cuisine is a mix of all of those influences. You can taste the Indian in dishes with rice, coconut and spices. Lampreis will remind you of Dutch burger community, while Watalappam is a dessert that shows the Malay influence, and chilies are a reminder of Portuguese colonization. The first thing I ate in Sri Lanka was 36 kilometers away from Colombo Airport at my hotel at Merino Beach, a capsicum mushroom pizza. I know, it's not exactly the street food per se, but it was so good. So we have ordered a pizza here at this amazing restaurant. And they don't have Coke here, they have Pop. That's the drink, so we ordered a Diet Pop. My real street food journey started with my dad when we went to this local restaurant where we were on a tuk-tuk tour of Colombo, where I got some egg samosa and fish patty with some beer. I requested my driver to take us to where the locals eat because I believe that the best street food isn't always found on the main streets. You gotta look for hidden places and hope that they turn out to be the gems. Like how the next day, we went to the Fort railway station by taking the seaside train to this canteen, which was one of those places where they have everything on display in the cabinet, and it's hard to decide what to order, especially when you can't read Sinhalese. So we decided to order one of everything they had.
Baba, I got one of everything, you can take half of everything.
First up was the pan roll, which is like a fried spring roll stuffed with tuna, a Sri Lankan twist on the classic dish. Sri Lankans love their deep fried snacks, and my first thought when I was trying it was so much like Indian food. There were also these triangular looking pockets called Elawalu Roti, which were a form of roti filled with a range of different ingredients. Fish was my preferred filling, but there were some vegetables in there too. Instead of being deep fried like samosas, triangle rotis are just skillet fried. And of course, tea. Drinking tea is a huge part of Sri Lankan culture. Although it is very different from ginger masala tea that I'm used to drinking at home when not fasting. I found that the black tea was not as strong as you would get in India. Now we are here at a Pettah market for lunch. I'm thinking of some rice and Sri Lankan curry for lunch. Considering the national dish of the country, Sri Lankan rice and curry consists of steaming hot fluffy rice that is served with a variety of side dishes commonly called curries. To say Sri Lankans love rice and curry is an understatement. They eat it for breakfast, lunch and dinner. They even have it at weddings and festivals. There are typically at least 3 different curries served along with rice, one of which is usually based on fish or meat and the other 2 are based on vegetables. I'll be brutally honest with you. I didn't like it as much, but I guess it's because I have lived in India for quite a long time and I prefer Indian curry over Sri Lankan curry. That doesn't mean it's simply bad, it's just not to my taste. We also got some spicy Manioc chips from the Gramstore, where everything is sold by the gram, hence the name. Sri Lankans love Manioc and have found many ways to cook it. The one we got was so yummy and it's sliced and deep fried and dipped in some salt, pepper and some chili. The next meal I ate in Sri Lanka was 4 kilometers away from Kandy at a breakfast place. This place was so authentic and small and gave a feel of being locally owned and run by women. So amazing.
So let's check out what they have. What is this?
What that is Lavariya, made with a sweet stuffed string hopper and stuffed with coconut and jaggery. It's a popular tea time snack. It's hard to choose when you don't know what is what and what does it taste like. So as usual, I got one of everything they have.
Can we get assorted like many different items for 2 people?
We ended up getting some vada, Ulundu Vada, some pan rolls and dosa. all typical Sri Lankan breakfast must-haves, very much influenced by South Indian, but with its own unique identity and taste. My mom saw someone having this green drink and we got one for us too. It was so good. It's called Kola Kenda, which is like a herbal porridge that Sri Lankans have been drinking specifically for breakfast for a very long time. It's a combination of very, very nutritious greens that have been cooked in coconut milk and blended too from this amazing porridge. It also has a little bit of rice in it. So yummy. You've probably eaten a few mangoes and pineapples before. If you've been to one of the fancier worldwide supermarkets, you might have even found a star fruit. These are staple in Sri Lankan exports, but the country has a whole host of fruit that are still relatively unknown, like the big orange we got from my mom, whose name I couldn't find anywhere, but the driver said
Jambola.
Jambola.
it's called jumbo. They were selling it on the roadside for 100 rupees, which is 30 cents, and it tasted good. I guess, as I didn't eat it, I was fasting, but my mom said it was good. There's also thambili, or king coconut, like an elixir that possesses the magical power of quenching thirst.
King coconut. You will not find this thing in any other part of the world.
And what's special about it?
So it has very thin meat. In India, they have slightly yellow coconut side, but this is mainly for drinking. It is better than the green coconut if you drink the coconut. So you are having a kind of a unique drink here now.
And you can't imagine how refreshing it is after climbing on the top of Little Adam's Peak with this view.
Alright guys, so now we've made it to a resting point and we're rewarded with a coconut. And coconut, as you know, is a super hydration liquid. So I'm really looking forward to it because you can see I'm sweating so much.
It is easily found in almost all parts of the country and is sold by street or roadside vendors. After our trek, our guide that we hired to show us around Ella took us to this local restaurant and I was introduced to Kottu Roti. You can hear Sri Lanka's favorite street snack being made before you see it. The loud, distinctive sound of metal blades bashing against a metal hot plate is how you know Kottu Roti is being made. Kottu Roti is to Sri Lankans what hamburgers are to Americans. Some love it at late night after a stint of partying, others love it for breakfast. Legend says that there was a Kottu seller on the east coast of Sri Lanka that was closing up his roti stand when a group of tourists arrived asking him some food. The roti seller only had scraps left over from the day, bits of cooked roti, some vegetables, and leftover chicken curry. Instead of telling the tourists that he was all out of food, he made a mashup of all the leftovers. Tourists loved it, and thus Kottu Roti was born. The main ingredient is roti bread, which is cut up into small bits. Apart from roti, other ingredients added are usually onions, leek, cabbage, eggs, and sometimes chicken, mutton, beef, and more modern versions with cheese. We also had some chicken rolls, some vadas, and lots of other appetizers. It was so much food, all 5 of us couldn't finish it all. Another noteworthy meal I ate in Sri Lanka was when we were on the way to Galle after scuba diving for the first time in my life in Marissa. And you know how good a meal tastes after swimming. I got myself some pan roll, a fish bun, and sausage, and Kibula Banis. And they were so good, I just had to get them again. Although there were many other Sri Lankan cuisines I didn't try, like appam, acharu, Vadai, and so much more. What I ate was enough to tell me what I wanted to know. It's not surprising that Indian and Sri Lankan foods are quite similar since both countries are located close to each other. They both use rice and coconut as their staples and love to add spices like cardamom, cumin, and coriander in their dishes. They both have curry and rice-based dishes, but with different styles and ingredients. Some dishes such as dosa and roti are popular in both countries with slight variations. However, Sri Lankan food is much spicier than some Indian food, and they love to use hot chilies like amumiris and kochimiris. They use coconut milk in most of their curries, which makes them a bit sweet and creamy, unlike Indian dishes, which are usually tomato-based. They also use unique ingredients like jackfruit, breadfruit, goraka, which is tamarind, and dried Maldive fish to add more depth and complexity to their dishes. Sri Lanka has kept the old ways of cooking and also adopted methods from other culinary traditions. That's why you can find such a rich variety of food in Sri Lanka, Some of it's homegrown, while the other dishes have evolved over time from other cuisines. When I ate in Sri Lanka, it was always a delight, including that curry. Overall, Sri Lanka's food scene is something to cherish. That's all for the food tour from this incredible island. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.